All right, Sag, I actually like this combination. I don't necessarily feel like it's going to have to do with you dealing with people who are driving you nuts. So we are all mad here. Everyone is a little different, and then poised, which is actually very good. This is saying that you are ready and you are confident to begin a new phase in your life, to take advantage of something new, new beginnings. It's a beautiful card, but when you're looking at we're all mad here, it's talking about accepting your differences and the differences of others. Now, absolutely, for some of you, it could be that you need to be poised and ready to deal with, difficult situations with people who are acting a little bit crazy, but in truth, so are you, right? And that's kind of where the acceptance comes in with we're all mad here. All right, Sag, here is your overall. The Page of Swords. Okay. So going back to somebody driving you nuts. With the Page of Swords, we're talking about needing more information. I always see this as half truth, needing to have questions answered. Now, for some of you, it's going to be processing some information that is coming to you. The Page of Swords doesn't necessarily mean that it's, horrible news, but it's probably going to be something that you're not going to want to hear. But we'll see how this is playing out. So in the past, Temperance. So in the past, you were able to kind of keep yourself in balance. I also feel like, the patience here maybe being pushed to a point where it's going to be hard for you to maintain your balance if you're not getting the answers that you're looking for. So I do feel like, you're needing to kind of pull on your energy now with dealing with this Page of Swords. Okay, so in the present, the Ace of Pentacles. So for some of you, this is going to be about a new opportunity, and absolutely it could be about work or something that is realistic and practical and long-lasting. But, you've been keeping yourself in check, keeping yourself in balance, waiting for this to come around. But there are still some things that you need to know, or there may not be a lot of good news surrounding this new opportunity. I don't see it like being a no, but with the Page of Swords being the overall, it's kind of like, well, that's not what I was wanting to hear. Okay, all right. So there's still the opportunity that's very much there. I want to see how that's connected to what's in your environment. But looking at the Ten of Wands being in future conditions, we're talking about you taking on a lot. There being a heavy burden, taking on a lot of responsibility here. And it may be that in order for there to, be forward movement on a new opportunity, some things are going to have to be let go of or released. But it's going to directly have to do with not having enough information. So it's like, I've been patient. I've been waiting for this. I've been keeping myself in balance. I'm getting to the point where I can't keep carrying this anymore. I'm going to drop it all if I don't have my questions answered. Now on the other hand, it may be about a great opportunity coming through, but the bad news here is that it's going to be more than what you could probably deal with at the moment, but we'll see here. Okay, your best path to follow, the King of Cups. This is basically saying that, looking back at Temperance and now looking at your advice, I do feel like there was a lot riding on this opportunity for you. Again, whether we're talking about work or relationship here, but it's something that, is going to bring you physical reward. That's kind of how I see the Ace of Pentacles, is you're talking about what we have in the physical, but again, long lasting. But I look at this and I feel like you need to stay calm emotionally. You have to stay in control of your own emotions here. But I also feel like there's a need for you to be, open to what is being said to you. But it's not the full story, though. And that's the problem with the Page of Swords. Because we could be looking at this as there's a new opportunity here. It could have to do with another person, but you're needing to stay in control of your emotions because there's still a lot weighing on you in regards to things that you don't fully understand yet. And I also feel like, in terms of dealing with a person here, the King of Cups is also asking you to, be loving and supporting them too. Because I always look at the Page of Swords as one of those things where, well, why didn't you just tell me? In your environment, the Ten of Cups. So it is a new opportunity for a new beginning that is going to bring you happiness, absolutely. But for some of you, this will have to do with possibly a relationship or family. Looking at the Ten of Cups in your environment, I think maybe you are dealing with a person here that has something that they need to tell you. It may not be exactly what you want to hear. It may cause problems moving ahead. But you can't let that weigh on you, though, with that Ten of Wands being there. But I think it's a lot more than what you were prepared for, which is funny because I go back to poised and you needing to be ready. But, again, with the Ten of Cups, this is otherwise, a situation that would be very happy. Your hopes and your fears. Okay. All right. I see. With the Seven of Swords being hopes and fears, the fear there is that you're dealing with a deceit or somebody who is trying to deceive you, or fearing that you're going to have to deal with this again. And that may be kind of where the bad news is coming from. And feeling all of this like pressure on you. Like, I want to be happy. I want to be in a happy situation, but I don't like the fact that this person is not being honest. But I do think that kind of comes out in a way, but not in a way that I think that you were prepared for. And I do think that you're going to have to take some time to kind of process that information. Now, on the other hand, though, some of you just may be fearing that somebody is hiding something from you. I don't necessarily feel like you're being taken advantage of. I think that if you have experienced that in the past, you've gotten your balance back for sure. There is a brand new opportunity that is in your present moment to bring you happiness. But where it leads with the Ten of Wands, is specifically going to have to do with information that you weren't expecting. That's going to be a pain. And then coming out, the Chariot. So for some of you, and it's funny because I look at the home and I think, for some of you, yeah, it is going to have to do with home. It may have to be, or it may have to do with a situation where we're talking about moving with the Chariot. Now, on the other hand, though, with the Chariot, it's like, okay, now that there is at least some kind of communication here, there's a better sense of direction, but it is also about your own self-control here, for sure, especially with Temperance being what kicks this off. But, there's that victory there, but in what direction are you headed, though? Do you feel like you have enough information to give you a sense of direction? Have you processed this information with the Page of Swords? Are you releasing that burden and then moving forward with this new opportunity? Which could involve somebody that you're dealing directly with within the home, within a relationship, or this could be simply about an opportunity to move to a new home. But I go back to the Seven of Swords, and that to me makes sense if we're talking about a person that you're dealing with and them keeping something from you. And I think that the fear there is that it's worse than what it actually is, because it would have been different had that been the overall and not the Page of Swords. And then the King of Pentacles. And with the King of Cups being your advice, definitely you don't want to get too overly emotional. You want to stay in control, but you also want to be loving and supporting if somebody is like trying to open up and be honest about things that they may have been keeping. Because I still look at this as a very good situation. But there does need to be at least, some kind of momentum forward here, and I think you are getting it. The Three of Cups and looking at Temperance, some of you have needed to keep your calm because there may have been an outside influence that may be affecting a happy home life situation for some of you, which could have to do with a relationship here. Now, I also look at this, though, as, kind of getting better support, though, because we're also talking about, having a reason to celebrate. And you do have the Chariot and at least some sense of, like, momentum and movement forward and sense of direction. Now, with the Knight of Wands and looking at the Ace of Pentacles, this is like going for it, absolutely, right? Not really worried about, what's going to happen later on. Just there's passion, there's drive, there's the want to take advantage of this opportunity, especially with overall happiness being connected to it, which is great. But we could also be talking about, especially with the Three of Cups, dealing with somebody who may need to get control over themselves. And that may be where the Chariot is coming through, where we're no longer dealing with outside influences, third-party situations, things like that. Now, with the King of Pentacles, I kind of look back to the King of Cups, and I think that for a lot of you, if this is kind of what you're projecting outward, if your advice is the King of Cups, not only are you needing to be loving and supporting, but coming out with this movement forward, it's you being a little bit more giving of yourself and your time, but also being emotionally supportive, or at least needing to be, when it comes to kind of like dealing with the information that is coming to you. Again, whether we're talking about just information that you've been waiting on or information that's coming out from a person that you're dealing with directly. Now, that person, though, could be the King of Pentacles. So you may be dealing with somebody who is no longer hiding things, but being very open and willing to do, what is necessary to have success in a relationship, a home life, in wanting to make the most of this opportunity, wanting things to be successful, especially with the Chariot being there. But I don't see this as a bad thing. The only thing that I question here is how you're looking at the information that's being given to you and how it kind of like puts pressure on you. But, my hope there with the Chariot coming out is that, you're kind of like dealing with it as it comes and not letting it weigh on you so much that you can't move forward. It's not bad, Sag. Very nice, very nice. So again, going back to the Three of Cups, right? Having a reason to celebrate. It's not bad. Needing to take action in order for a situation to flourish, and that will lead you to celebration. It's perfect. And it looks really good. And I think that, this is going to be one of those things where honesty is going to be important from the person that you're dealing with, if that is the case. And I think that they're trying. It may not be exactly the things that you want to hear, but once that starts to come out, like I said, the door opens up for something much better. And then answering the call, the time is now. The time is now for you to start to take action. There is a way to get things back on track, so to speak. But absolutely, if you begin to take action towards your passion, toward, this overall happiness here, things look really good coming out. They really do. You will be able to flourish. Things will start to be better. There's going to be a reason to celebrate. You may have a temporary setback, and it could be in the form of bad news if we're not dealing with a relationship. But either way, as long as you're willing to take action here, it looks really good coming out, Sag.